So I did put this wheelbarrow back together and slop some paint on it. Interestingly, I cleaned the wheel spindle up and greased it all, and unlike some of these plastic inserts in the wheel hubs, this one actually had a bit of bearing material in it. Piece of it could have been just steel, or it could have been a bit of phosphor bronze. So that's sort of interesting. That's a better standard than normal, even if the rest isn't. And these joins here, as I was painting it, I let loads of paint soak down in there, and the wheel attachment bolts, they are hexagons both sides and well greased. So there you go, it can go into the pile of wheelbarrows. So we've always got a wheelbarrow for use, even if some of the other ones are full at the moment. So we've got this rake here. It's all very good. Let's just move. There we go. But it's all wibbly. And if you look here, let's just see if we can see. We can't. We're going to have to move. And if you look just down there, the handle stops short. It really should come into there, which is why it's all wiggling around, and it's been worn, so therefore we need to reset this. There you can see how it's worn away a bit, and it feels like there's a spike or something in there. So we need to shave this down to make it fit that properly. And I'm going to use, where is it? A draw knife. So when I was editing this video, I thought I really haven't described the draw knife very well. I've shown you me using it. So there we go. It's a knife with a handle on either end, as used by the old-fashioned chair bodgers and stuff like that. And I've got another one here. It's a lot longer, and as you can see, it's been well used. The blade is down to not very much, but I prefer this one, being shorter and more manipulable, and of course it's just you tip it like this to adjust the amount of cut. So perfect for rounding things over where you don't have to be to the thousandths of an inch. So there you go. Now we'll get on with the rest of the video. So just gently remove that step for a start. See, it's starting to go on better already. It's almost there. I think we just need a bit off this end. Doesn't take much. You know, How long have I been doing this for? If it's a minute. So we need to get that further into there. There we go. A little bit more on the sides. Not bad. I don't quite think we ought to turn it round. Oh, squeaky. There we go. And then we can put the screw back in. Job's a good one. But first of all, before I do anything, I'm going to put a drop of paint on the timber in that socket. So we've got a bit of varnish. And just it'll just stop it rotting in the socket. If it gets left outside or something like that, which it shouldn't do, but you never can tell. Perhaps the whole handle will want varnishing, but we'll just do this bit first. Okay, so then that's good and tight. We just need to drill a pilot hole. There we go. So that's another disaster averted, or should we say another failure averted. So I lost a bit of footage about repairing this. So we've the description was that the handle was snapped off there and I'd removed the plug that was in there, and of course I can then measure that with this pair of homemade calipers to get the right diameter. So back onto the original footage now. So there we go, and there were just a couple of little barbs there, so it was obviously a cheap and cheerful thing, but it survived, and there's the plug that came out. So we want it to come down to about here, so let's just crack on. I've got a piece of, this is a coast redwood branch, and the annual rings are really quite close together. Hopefully you can see that. So that should do the job. That's not bad. I think actually that's pretty reasonable. We've still got a bit of bark there, but never mind. We just need to smooth this out a bit and round that down and just smooth that bit out a bit. I think that plug wants to be a bit longer. Right. Let's cut that off on the bandsaw, and that will do, I'm assuming. And there's that bark inclusion. But coast redwood is quite durable, and as you can see, this is dry and quite hard. Let's see how we get on. Now you've got to be careful when you're using a bandsaw for cutting round stuff. So let's have a look. Will it fit? It will, because that stretches a bit. So I'll put some, and there you go. Perhaps a little bit short, but it's fine. You need to varnish that socket and drill a hole and put a screw through it. Where's the varnish? Where's the brush? So just have a bit of varnish in there, and then on here, put that through. Very nice. and that can just live somewhere where I do the occasional bit of sweeping up, and you can bag up sawdust and all that sort of thing. So I've drilled some holes in there and some pilot holes, but at a slight angle, so it pulls this bit of the clamp together a bit. And there we go. Let's just zoom out a bit. One shovel refurbished, little hand shovel, and I've slapped a load of varnish on the body of the hand shovel, and that will stay in the workshop, probably downstairs by the saw bench. Another fine bit of useful equipment. Now then, I've machined some of that Norway up, or dimensioned it, and I'm going to plane it, but of course to plane it means I've got to have a bit of a tidy up, and whilst I'm tidying up, there's a pile here of small offcuts ready for splitting into kindling. So one job tails on to another one, but as I've showed at the start of this video, it is a great thing to do what is necessary before it becomes essential and unavoidable, and that includes doing your tax return, because it's April and it's time to do the tax return. And not only have they insisted that either you do it online or you download the form, they've changed the form. So I'm going to cover that at some point in a very short video. after that little bit of footage of planing, we've got the timber here, and I've done the rebates. So let's just have a look here. Let's just zoom in a minute. That one there is the top rail, and that has a rebate for the glass. So this is the middle rail, and it has a rebate, and they're both equal to make life easy. The rebate on the right hand side is the rebate for the glass. The rebate on the left hand side, that's the notch, is for the weatherboarding for the bottom half of the door. And of course that one there, that bottom rail there, that rail there, which now in the middle of the screen, is the bottom rail. So you can see that the boards go over the bottom rail to weather it properly. And just over here somewhere, wherever it's gone, there it is, there are the two stiles. Now obviously one of them's the wrong way round because the rebate should be facing each other. So it's all planed up, rebated and whatnot. So now I need to just mark out the mortises and the tenons and start putting it all together. And this is my multi-cone mortiser, and there were some videos that I put on quite a long time ago now to that converted this from 3-phase to single phase without changing the motor, and I'll put a link up in the corner there to that series of videos. You'll find it most entertaining, and several other channels have sort of alluded to that but not actually referenced it directly, which is there you go, that's what happens. Anyway, let's just mortise this. Can't remember how to switch it on now. Oh, there it is. No, there it is. just stop halfway through there. Because the middle rail is slightly narrower than the original, I haven't done a double mortise and tenon as I described. I'm just doing a single straight through. And the other thing is, you notice that the face of the tenon is lined up with the bottom of the rebate. It's just an easy way of doing things. Makes everything just sort of line up properly, and all the rebates will line up, etc, etc. So I did those cable joints, as you can see. Made a tray, did all the soldering, and dumped a load of hot pitch in there, which is grand. That's done, it's tested and it's working fine. And I will put a link to the video just up there. There's a video all about this, a backwards method of joining armoured cable. So we'll just put that back. Here we go. And it might be a long-winded way of doing it, but at least I can access that joint if I ever needed to, or if I wanted to get to it to tap off for something else. And you know, I've done this in amongst other jobs, because you can have 3 or 4 jobs rolling along and you're not trying to rush to the end of any job, but you can just have them running in parallel. That way it doesn't get boring, and you've got plenty of thinking time about each particular activity or job. And especially when I was building that charcoal retort, I haven't finished that yet. We'll give it a road test and it wants a few improvements, but that build was spread out over months and months, and so each particular bit I was able to think my way around it, and 2 days later go, oh, that's an easier way of doing it. Anyway, cracking on. Now then, Woody Jim on the last video was talking, and I was talking about Monterey pine, and he was saying whether you got wind snap, and this is a prime example. Now it's been sat about for a while, but if you can see, there was a branch, there was a branch, there was a little one there, there and there. So the only bit that was actually holding the top half of this tree together was just this little bit here. All the rest was branch work, and as you could see, it was dead branches because it's got bark on the outside. So I've just found another piece, there we go, which is a slightly further up the tree. Branch, 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 and there's the centre. Now you can imagine that these branches were, that branch knot was here, yeah, and these are coming like that, and this one is coming through here and like that. So it gets to that point which is very weak. Anyway, enough said. It's not all Monterey pines that are like that, but in New Zealand they grow a lot of Monterey, and they grow it apparently, I've only heard about it obviously, as an agroforestry with sheep and rows of Monterey pine, but they're pruned to avoid this very same problem. And I've actually used some of them in the past. In the late 80s I bought some and it was absolutely gorgeous, brilliant. There was some 4x4s, I'm trying to think, 16 foot long, maybe 14 foot long, absolutely clear and clean, not a knot in it, very even grained. It was quite nice to work with and reasonably hard, but that's because, remember I said 2 videos ago about a knotty core? Well, these branches on this particular example, they've grown quite big. Those branches are maybe 4 or 5 inches in diameter, whereas really you want that knotty core and then the clean timber on the outside. We've got somebody singing up here, I can't quite see it. Anyway, I'll leave you to it.